Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central Television. I'm Kofi Bartels. Let's begin the news of this hour with a look at the top stories. Christians across the globe have celebrated Easter amid calls for hope and unity. Fire left 2 dead and about 2,000 homeless in South Africa. And Somalia's Puntland shuns federal institutions over vote reform. Those are the headlines. We have details of those and other stories ahead on the news. You're welcome. Let's begin the news tonight by telling you that the chairman of the All Progressives Congress Caretaker Committee in Rivers State, Chief Tony Okocha, has knocked some chieftains of the People's Democratic Party in the state over their recent celebration, or rather declaration, of support for President Bola Tinubu and the Governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara. This came as a direct reaction to a press conference by the former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Secondas, the former Minister of Transportation, Abiy Sekibo, among others, who declared their support for Tinubu and Fubara. While addressing a press conference at the National Secretariat of the party in Abuja, Okocha said most of those PDP elements are still in the camp of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. He also faulted the declaration of support for President Tinubu while saying that they are the ones giving Governor Fubara what he called the confidence to challenge the resolution of Mr. President Bola Tinubu on the political crisis in Rivers State.
If the midnight pseudo-lovers of Mr. President today, as shown in their text under critique, if they are now convinced that Mr. President is abundantly fit and proper to preside over Nigeria, and that his 10 months in office has provided renewed hope for an El Dorado for Nigerians, and choose to recant their hitherto unsavory and unprintable toxics against Mr. President, they should follow the proper channels allowed for potting or decamping to any political party. This approach of browbeating and blackmailing they intend to use is not fashionable at all. No sane host tolerates a guest who attempts to enter his or her house through the window when the doors are wide open. That's 6 out of 8. Why are the other 2 difficult? What are the 2? Go and conduct local government election. And if you are governor, you are almost there for 1 year, and every day you think you are carrying crowd, you should just test the waters and find out that those crowds you are carrying are rented. When a man is hungry and you say, hey, enter the bus, we are going for somewhere, I will give you 5,000. They will push each other to enter the bus. That's the kind of crowd he has. He doesn't have the people. And Rivers.
Let's see in Rivers State, where the State House of Assembly has accused the governor of dishonesty, threatening to resume impeachment proceedings against him if he continues to breach the Constitution, in their opinion. Martin Amaewhule, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, made this known on Saturday during a press briefing in Port Harcourt, the capital of Rivers State. Amaewhule, who was accompanied by 26 members of the Assembly, read out a communique issued after the briefing. The lawmakers accused Governor Fubara of refusing to hold up to his end of the presidential peace accord, which they say he willfully signed without coercion. Well, let's discuss this some more. We're joined by Nelson Kujimi. He is a political analyst. Good evening to you, Nelson, and a very happy Easter. Nelson Kujimi, can you hear me, please?
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Nelson Kujimi, is there a chance that the latest statement and move coming from the Rivers State House of Assembly, you just said the words of Martin Amaewhule, the Speaker, is more of a political than about governance and even about the Constitution?
Well, the truth of the matter is that I can't hear your question very well. The truth of the matter is that in governance, there's a little bit of politicking involved. So one expects that the governor should place politics right, even though we know governance, take precedence over every other thing. But like we all know that politics is life. So one expects that the governor should get his act right with regards to how he governs the state and the stakeholders involved. Because whatever we do, we cannot run away from politics, even in a family setting. So you cannot run away from the fact that there's a bit of politics involved in this impeachment threats by the Rivers State House of Assembly. So it cannot be isolated or it cannot be removed from it.
Now, so what are the potential consequences for Governor Fubara and indeed for Rivers State if this impeachment proceedings resume? We seem to have an issue there with Nelson Ikujimi, public affairs analyst. We will hope to have this discussion at some other time. But we're moving on to another story, to our Easter update. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has felicitated Christians in the country and around the world as they celebrate the Easter season. Easter is an event that commemorates the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. It is also a symbol of Christ's victory over death and sin. To mark the day, the Nigerian president in a statement called on Christians to imbibe the virtues of love, sacrifice, and compassion associated with the season. Since assuming office in May, Nigeria's president has embarked on several policies that have had an effect on the masses and the economy. Well, in his Easter message, the Nigerian president hailed the resilience and sacrifice of Nigerians, saying it is necessary for economic recovery. Easter is one of the most significant festivals for Christians. It is a time of profound spiritual and renewal and joy, marking the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. Easter is celebrated on the first Sunday following the full moon after the spring equinox. In Nigeria, this year's celebrations seem rather different, with citizens contending with the rising cost of living. With more, here's News Central's Martin Amaewhule.
Whether through solemn rituals or joyful gatherings, Easter is a time when Christians reflect on life's blessings and spread love and good news of Jesus Christ's resurrection. However, in many places, most people concentrate more on the celebration than the reason for the season.
Easter is simply about the reason for why we are Christians. I mean, without Easter, basically, the whole essence of our faith is not there.
I think the present generation has lost it, and sometimes I look at it that maybe we should be blamed because the essence of Easter is for us to look at the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, what he really stood for and what he did for us, and then lend our life, give ourselves to him, and be obedient unto him. But what we see is that people are now celebrating, dancing, jumping, drinking, doing things, instead of even being a sober time where you look at your life and you dedicate yourself to Christ.
Usually a time to merry and jolly, especially after the long fast. This year, the economic hardship in Nigeria seems to be biting harder than ever, leaving the faithful clinging to nothing but their faith and hope for a better tomorrow.
In our own little way, we do our bits. I mean, a few weeks ago, in our neighborhood here, the whole of the Jaconde here got pulled down. Of course, who takes the blunt is the church. This church where they come. We have to support them with funds to relocate. Every Sunday we are giving people food stuff. So we are doing the bit. We expect the government to do their bit.
This Easter is okay, but the economic is only by God's grace for everything.
The hardship is too much. This time of Easter, there's not much customer in doing our work and everything.
The economy has nothing to do with my Easter because I'm of Christ and because I belong to Christ. Nigeria's economy has nothing whatsoever to do with my Easter.
Christians in Nigeria are having a low-key Easter celebration this year. No thanks to the current economic hardship in the country that has triggered high cost of foodstuff as well as the soaring cost of transportation for holiday travelers amongst other factors. It is hoped that just like the seasons, this too shall pass. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
In Umuahia, the Abia State capital, Christians trooped out in their numbers to celebrate Easter in commemoration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The central message by the Catholic Bishop of Umuahia, Right Reverend Michael Upong, focused on forgiveness, sacrifice, and endurance. He also enjoined Christians to emulate all the virtues of Christ, which he exhibited while on earth, to help them advance their heavenly race. Also, the Bishop of the Umuahia Diocese of the Methodist Church in Nigeria, Right Reverend Ikechukwu Emezi Nkulo, called on the government to make people-oriented policies and fix the nation's infrastructure.
The resurrection of Jesus gives us the firm hope and faith that resurrection from the dead, as he promised us, is a reality, not just fiction. The lesson it is teaching us that is that goodness has always the upper hand, will always triumph over evil, because Jesus was crucified out of hatred. And it's also telling us that no matter what we suffer, as long as we are suffering innocently, then you have nothing to regret. At the end of the day, God will vindicate you. And so we shouldn't see every suffering as evil. And it should encourage us to be bold in doing the right thing always, even when everybody is persecuting us, remembering that Jesus was crucified for doing good.
To actually rise with Christ, but in my own understanding, I want to rise living off whatever that is against the wish of Christ. Whatever is sinful, whatever is harmful to humanity, I leave it away and then decide to live a brand new life, emulating Christ in all I do. This is my main aspirations, particularly during.
As Nigerians continue to groan over the nation's worsening economy and insecurity, Christians remain optimistic that the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead guarantees a better tomorrow. These were the crux of Christian faithful in Asaba, Delta State, Nigeria, as they joined their counterparts all over the world to celebrate this year's Easter Sunday. At various church services held in the state capital to herald the celebration, Nigerians leaders were urged to be willing to make sacrifices for greater unity, peace, and progress of the country. Christians reminded that having gone through 40 days of fasting and prayer, Easter remains the most appropriate time for them to purge themselves of weights that have impeded the progress of the country by demonstrating love in its fullness and purity, not only to one another, but to others in society.
Must rise. They must embrace the rising of Jesus and make this nation rise, because it has been placed in our hands and the hands of the politicians to make it work. They should make it work. We cannot remain in darkness when Jesus has risen.
That there is difficulty, but because of the resilience of Nigerians, that they are forging ahead with happiness.
His love over us supersedes what we are going through, supersede the hardship that we are going through. So I think today is, no matter what you're going through, you come out and celebrate. You don't have to cook. Just celebrate his grace, celebrate his power, celebrate his passion to die for mankind.
Continue to pray. But my message to political class is for them to do the right thing. It is just very good that we do things that will uplift the people, not tormenting people, putting them into bondage.
So I'm expecting that the celebration of Jesus Christ will bring upon us, the Nigerians, every good.
And still in the spirit of Easter, we head to South Africa, where millions of Christians around the world today celebrated Easter, also known as Resurrection Sunday, a Christian day that celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. It is one of the most important holidays in the Christian calendar. In Johannesburg, at the Cathedral of Christ the King, the congregants celebrated the day at a Mass and took Holy Communion. News Central's Mbongani Ziziba has more.
Harmonious praises all to exalt the glory of God. A Sunday Mass gathering to commemorate the most profound event in their faith, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. From readings from the scriptures to recounting the story of Jesus' crucifixion and miraculous resurrection, each word spoken carries the weight of centuries of faith and tradition, uniting the congregation in a shared sense of purpose and belief.
One of the many facets of the faith, especially this one, that of the resurrection, which in the minds of many people is difficult to fathom.
For Christians, the resurrection of Jesus Christ is the cornerstone of their belief. It signifies the victory of life over death, hope over despair, and light over darkness, a testament to the power of divine love that transcends all human boundaries. It also offers believers the promise of eternal life and the assurance that even in the face of adversity, there is always hope of renewal and redemption. Time to partake in a ritual known as the Holy Communion. Congregates take turns around the altar with their faces showing gratitude and devotion for the sacrifice that Jesus made for their salvation. The resurrection of Jesus Christ is more than a historic event for many here. They are reminded that his victory over death is a source of hope and inspiration for believers around the world.
We need to take this time and remind ourselves where we're coming from and where we're going, who are we, and our journey in Christ Jesus Christ. We must repent and we must go back to our Savior.
I feel happy that he rose from the dead and he died for our sins. I'm also happy because he did so much for us and he was nailed to the cross. He bled and died, and some people on this earth do not really know who he is. So I want them to know that Jesus died for our sins and he loves all of us.
It's a blessing to have him being resurrected for us during this Easter.
Resurrection Day, a day where many Christians across the globe celebrate and reflect and take a new leaf on their Christianity, a day that they believe Jesus died and rose and washed their sins away. In Johannesburg, for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
Well, let's come back to West Africa. In other news, Muslim faithful in Jos Plateau State in northern Nigeria have urged the federal government to wade into the economic crisis that has caused untold hardship to the citizens. This was made known when News Central's Chizoba Amaewhule sought to find out how they are coping with the economic meltdown, even as they perform their Ramadan rite.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Ramadan is one of the most spiritual exercises within Islam. It is a period of fasting where believers abstain from as much as carnal acts as possible, give alms to the less privileged, and above all, abstain from food from 6 o'clock in the morning till same time in the evening when a call for the closing prayer for the day's fast is heard.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Sani Muazu, his wife and children have just concluded prayers to end the day's fast. It is now time for the breaking of fast with different dishes to choose from. They spoke on the essence of Ramadan.
Fasting is not just a way of nourishment to the soul. It is also, a shield, for the Muslim. Shield from committing all kinds of atrocities or, unruly behaviors.
It's not the much that you give, but it's the little that you are able to give. There's a hadith that the Prophet said that even if it is half a date, share one date, give your neighbor half.
It gives me a chance personally to reconnect with my religion, to put this hustle and grind to the side just for a little while and focus on what is important.
Especially us as youths, coming from the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you interact with people.
Behind me here is the Masalichin Juma in Jos. It is the biggest and the main worship center for the Muslim faithful here on the plateau. However, I am here to ascertain from the Muslim faithful how they cope with the hardship of the economy as they celebrate the month of Ramadan in Jos.
We are trying our best to cope with the economy because this our fasting is a sacrifice that we must do it.
When doing fasting, I have kamu, I drink. Nothing. This condition is very high. It's very high. We need government to do something about this.
Behind the sharing of this palliative is Pam Wadcom, the senator representing Plateau North Senatorial District.
As we can see today, people are suffering. People are stopping you from the road, begging you, or asking you for assistance or help. So I think this can go a long way in touching the lives of some people.
I want to appreciate the senator for remembering the Muslims, for the palliative.
By the next 9 days, when Ramadan will come to an end, it is expected that the fruits of the month-long fast and lengthy supplication to the Almighty will be evident in the commitment of everyone to making the country a better place for all. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyui.
Up next, we have a break-in. When we return, we have more stories. Please stay with us. Welcome back. And now to more stories. Agricultural revolution through food production is what many administrations in the past and present Nigeria seek to explore for food security. In this report, News Central's Umar Kirawa assesses the food production in the first quarter of the year.
The prevailing economic situation in Nigeria has made millions of people struggle to survive. Farmers in recent times in the northeastern part of the country have been in the middle of this and even worse. This is as a result of attack by insurgents marauding the region and shows of the lake Chad. Although there is no available data on the number of farmers affected, 12 farmers were murdered early this year in Gatamarwa and Sia communities of Chibok local government. 13 farmers also paid the supreme price along Pulka and Frigi Road in Goza in late January. This has somewhat disrupted food production and supply chains, contributing to food shortages and inflation.
In the past 3 months, if you look at it, there is massive improvement in production. But the challenge there is cost of production, if you look at it now, is very high. Then, with much encouragement from the government, we can aspire to go produce more.
Cost of food is still not affordable compared to last year or years when you look at the purchasing power of the ordinary Nigerian. So to me, yes, we are producing, but it's not good enough to beat the price.
Farmers seem optimistic and determined to rebuild their lives and communities through their vocation.
Alhamdulillah, sabura ko da kalmar kintura wazna kun doya solo da zaman bayin zuga nana su dinna wazna.
Sustained efforts by the federal and state government yielded immense results in the first quarter of this year. Many families have been resettled to their ancestral home to resume their trade, farming. Former fighters are being de-radicalized, leading to significantly less security concerns in many parts of the northeast.
Some parts of northern Borno, like Mwabar, they've started producing both food and cash crop. I can say they have reached about 40% compared to the loss and then the recovery target in ratio of 100. You will see that we have recorded about 40%.
Rural livelihoods are being revived, particularly in the tail end of the first quarter of 2024.
Agribusiness must be introduced And then value addition to agricultural produce must also be encouraged. These are capital-intensive issues and activities that the ordinary peasant farmer cannot afford to do it.
Borno State is pioneering sustainable food production by providing improved seeds, fertilizers, and adopting solar-powered water pumps to enhance their irrigation systems.
We're also trying to shift from the utilization of fossil fuel to green energy with a view to reducing carbon emission and reducing cost also.
The visit by the United Nations Secretary General earlier to Borno State re-energized the government, as it is said there is still hope for the better.
The Borno I found today is a Borno of hope, is a Borno with future. And I was very impressed to see the policy that is being applied here, recognizing that you don't fight terrorism just by military means, you fight terrorism addressing the root causes of terrorism.
As government continues efforts to reverse some of the negative trends, like the extreme upper hand of the dollar against the naira, it is hoped that by the second quarter of this year, food will not just be available, but affordable to every Nigerian. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Thank you, Mauro. Let's move to other reports. The persons living with disabilities in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, have scored the performance of the current government high in reaching out to members of the disabled community. This was as they converged on the Unity Fountain to mark the Easter and celebrate the birthday of President Bola Tinubu. With more, here's our correspondent, Martin Amaewhule.
They converged on the Unity Fountain in Abuja. Members of the disability community from across the federal capital say it is a double celebration, the Easter celebration and the birthday of President Bola Tinubu. Some of them say the current government has been fair to Nigeria's disability community.
This administration does not joke with persons with disabilities. And they just started. They are not even up to 1 year. In 2 months, they're going to be 1 year. So imagine another 7 years to go. So much.
For others, it was an opportunity to rate the performance of government.
I am really happy for the president in the aspect of including persons with disability. Like myself, for the first time of being interviewed as a coming out in the midst of people, I think it's a privilege.
We are happy, and we said we must celebrate him because he has done what others cannot do for us. He has included it in so many things that we expected. And we are also expecting that he will do more for us.
The government has the interest of persons with disability in mind. And the Lagos State, when the president was the governor, Lagos was the first state to pass the disability law in this country.
Persons with disability, they have not had it so good like this before. Since President Tinubu took over power, he has created an enabling environment. The first thing he did was to appoint the senior special assistant to the president on special needs and equal opportunity.
They are also calling for more funding for the National Disability Commission and more intervention programs for members of their community. In Abuja for News Central, I am Martin Amaewhule.
The Delta State Governor, Sheriff Oberewori, has been urged to prevail on President Bola Tinubu and the chairman of the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency to rescue the Omoniria family's second son, Romosele, from total blindness. Now, this stray bullets from the guns of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency operatives are said to have shattered the left eye of the boy in his mother's shop during a raid on Okapanam in Delta State on July 13, 2023. The same stray bullets took the life of his elder brother, Ivan Omoniria, during the incident. His News Central's correspondent, Austin Azul, visited the family in Opanam Road, a suburb of Asaba, the Delta State capital, and now reports.
It has been 8 months and 13 days after the incident that took place here in Asaba that led to the early death of a 2-year-old boy who was cut short by a straight bullet of NDLA. 8 months and 13 days thereafter, The younger brother of Ivan, who was cut short by the NDLA bullet, has been battling for his health. I'm here at his father's house, Fidelis Omoria, to seek what has happened so far about the younger brother who has been ill for some time now.
On the 13th of December, I have to go and bury my son at the mortuary. Since the chairman has come, that there's no issue and all that. So when I buried my son, they now told us that since we have buried my son, my first son, that we should not worry. Within a short while, they will get the visa and the expedited date for us. With the chairman, NDLA, I was in communication with him. He was assuring me every day that they will do the needful, that I should not worry.
The father, who explained the various stages gone through after the promise made by the NDLA chairman, including securing a traveling visa that was unsuccessful, said in spite of the urgency that the trip requires, the family regrets that little or nothing is being done to expedite action. He said the family not only battled with the irreversible damage that was done to their psyche, but they were also saddled with the burden of paying the enormous hospital bills that come with treating the child.
Governor Sheriff Oboriwori, to help me prevail on the federal government and the NDLA to help me save my son. I don't want him to die again. At least I've lost one. It's okay. Let's see how we can put us together to rescue, to save this one.
The son's mother, who couldn't hold back her tears, said they can't watch their only son losing his sight after losing their first son. She lamented the sleepless nights they have been experiencing because of the deteriorating health of the child, saying they can no longer wait till 2025 before the visa approval to take the child abroad for surgery.
I'm begging the governor, please help us speak to Marwa, the president, Ahmed Tinubu. Please come to our aid. Come to our aid. I cannot lose a child and have a child lose an eye. The whole reason for those surgery is to help to get his sight back intact.
Efforts to reach out to the NDLA chairman were unsuccessful.
8 months and 13 days thereafter, this young boy here is still battling for his eyesight, who was wounded by the stray bullet from the NDLA. They are all appealing to the federal government and relevant stakeholders to come to their rescue to enable this young boy regain his sight. In Asaba, for News Central, I'm Austin Azul.
Since its establishment in 1949, the Lagos Country Club has been known for its tranquility, but now it's facing an internal conflict. The club's management council is reportedly at odds with the recently appointed interim management board. Let's take that to report from correspondent Chilima Ona.
Do not have the support of the members of the club and are to be withdrawn.
The bone of contention is the registered trustees' decision to suspend the management council of the Lagos Country Club. In a recent statement by the management council, described the registered trustees' decision to suspend them and establish an interim board as illegal. This move has sparked outrage among a significant portion of the membership, prompting an extraordinary general meeting for a peaceful resolution and voting.
This is very, very disagreeable to the members, so we insisted we must have an EGM and bring the club back to a peaceful situation whereby all petitions are dropped, the interim management council set up by the trustees is cancelled, and we pass a vote of confidence on the management committee that was sacked by the trustees.
There's been a lot of things happening in the club that has been very, very shameful to us, and we needed to quickly come together to be able to see a way to resolve this peacefully and to be able to make sure that we bring back the sanctity of the club back again. We have a lot of issues where the trustees of the club are dissolving the management council, which is out of the constitution of Lagos Country Club, and imposing an interim board on the management council that were duly elected.
Members of the prestigious club are urging the registered trustees to lessen its interference in the matters of the club.
Their interferences over the years started creating unnecessary conflict that now accumulated to this climax that we are having now. So For us members, we decided that this kind of interferences must stop. The trustees must stop exercising the powers that the Constitution did not give them. They must stop issuing directive to the management council that is charged with the responsibility of running the club. In fact, the management council nominates them to be appointed as trustees. So there is no way they can even be above the management council, because in the years past, they've played elderly roles, they've played fatherly roles, mediating in conflicts and achieving peaceful resolutions to conflicts that have happened in the club.
The House Management Council has appealed for calm and returned to the supremacy of the Lagos Country Club's constitution. They say they are committed to resolving the issue swiftly to ensure a safe and welcoming environment for members.
Coming up, Somalia's Puntland shuns federal institutions over vote for a reform. We have details of that story and others when we return from the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The news continues in South Africa. 2 people died and almost 2,000 were left homeless when fires engulfed hundreds of shacks in 3 separate incidents in South Africa's Cape Town. In Johannesburg, at least 60 shacks have been destroyed, leaving hundreds homeless. It is understood the blaze swept through the informal settlement early on Sunday at Commissioner Street in Fairview. Johannesburg's emergency services spokesperson Nana Radebe said firefighters managed to contain the blaze. In the east of the continent, Somalia's state of Puntland has announced on Sunday it will no longer recognize federal institutions after Parliament backed a plan for one-person, one-vote election system. It was the latest move in a long-running, sometimes tense saga, with Puntland repeatedly issuing similar declarations in recent years to express its disagreement with the central government in Mogadishu. As a result, Puntland says it will have its own comprehensive government authority until the federal government system is put in place with a mutually accepted Somali constitution that is subject to a public referendum. Authorities in the region opposed the adoption by Parliament of a plan to reintroduce universal suffrage and end the complex clan-based indirect voting system, which has been in place for more than half a century in the troubled Horn of Africa nation.
maanta waa maalin taariikhi waa maalin weyn waa maalin Soomaali u ah muhiim gaar ah waa maalin aan ka baxnay kumeelgaarkii dastuur kumeelgaarka la helay sharci la isku dhaqan karo oo macquul la taaban karo
waa maalin runtii la soo gaaray in baarlamaanka jamhuuriyadda federaalka Soomaaliya labadiisa aqal maalintii uu ku guuleystay ansixinta iyo dhamaystirka dastuurkii qabyada ahaa.
Let's join our business desk for the latest from the world of business.
Hello and welcome to Business News. The Nigerian naira appreciated significantly against the US dollar throughout March 2024. Official figures indicate that the naira closed the month at 1,309 naira per dollar on the last trading day, up from 1,595 naira 11 kobo per dollar at the end of February 2024. In a parallel market, the naira saw an even more pronounced recovery. The exchange rate improved from 1,600 naira per dollar in February to 1,250 naira per dollar in March, representing a 28% gain in 1 month. The gains in the official and parallel market are the largest seen in over 5 years. Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, RIFAN, has called on the federal government to restart the Anchor Borrowers Program, ABP, and address insecurity across the country as a measure to stem the ever-increasing rice prices. This was stated by the Vice President of the group, Nina Ejim, in an interview with the News Agency of Nigeria, NAN. Recall that Rifan, a top beneficiary of the ABP, with 1,518,603 members benefiting from the borrowing program, is currently grappling with a repayment shortfall. From the total principal of 283.01 billion naira that was allocated to Rifan, there has been a repayment of 137.24 billion naira. This leaves an outstanding principal balance of 145.77 billion naira, which is considered as past due. And finally, Ivory Coast's President Alassane Ouattara will raise the official farm gate price of cocoa from the current 1,000 CFA francs per kilogram to 1,500 CFA francs on Tuesday. This is based on information from sources at 5 distinct export companies. The sources, who pleaded anonymity, stated that they were referring to a decision made on Saturday at a government meeting. The official farm gate price that growers in Ivory Coast, a key producer, can charge for their beans has not yet reflected the more than threefold increase in cocoa prices over the past year, as disease and unfavorable weather sent the world market to a third consecutive deficit. And that's business news at this hour. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
Let's take some sports stories now. Rivers United got a crucial 1-0 victory over USM Algeria in the first leg of the CAF Confederation Cup quarter-final clash in Nigeria on Sunday. Augustin Okpejefa broke the deadlock in the 10th minute with a crucial strike from the edge of the box at Godswill Akpabio Stadium. The Nigerian team's physical dominance proved to be a major factor throughout the game. The second leg comes up in Algiers on the 7th of April, and the North Africans will battle to overturn the deficit and secure passage to the semi-finals. The stakes are high for USM Alger, with qualification to the next round offering an opportunity to continue their title defense. Let's now join our sports desk for more stories in sport.
Nigerian athlete Akinrodoye Samuel, better known as Coach Dre, took on a remarkable challenge on Saturday morning, March 30th, 2024. He swam the entire 11.8 kilometers across the Lagos 3rd Mainland Bridge to raise awareness about mental health. Coach Dre, CEO of Ocean 28 Swimming Academy, embarked on the impressive feat from Oroshoki on the mainland to Adeniji at Denley on the island. The professional swimmer completed the journey in a commendable time of 2 hours and 33 minutes, with his friends and colleagues cheering him on throughout the way. Coach Dre affirmed his 10-year career as a swimmer could help him do anything and become anything. He added that taking care of mental health is so important that when life throws curveballs, there's support available. The defending champions of the Lewis Edem Invitational Basketball Championship, Rivers Hoopers, have arrived in Lagos for the third edition of the tournament. Having clinched the 2023 Nigerian Premier Basketball League title, Rivers Hoopers find themselves in a challenging group alongside Ebun Comets, Hoops and Reed, Kwara Falcons, and the Braves of Ghana. In the previous edition, the Kingsmen emerged victorious with a dominant 74-56 triumph over the Spintex Knights of Ghana, and they are now aiming for consecutive titles. Additionally, Rivers Hoopers view the Lewis Edem tournament as a vital opportunity to prepare for Season 4 of the Basketball African League, underscoring their commitment to maintaining their competitive edge on the continental stage. Jurgen Klopp's Red Army is hell-bent on making sure that the German football legend ends his tenure at Merseyside with a major trophy as they overcame a 1-0 deficit against Brighton to keep their title hopes alive. Despite being the second-best defensive side in the EPL, Liverpool conceded a goal in the second minute after a clearance by Virgil van Dijk fell perfectly for Danny Welbeck to fire in a volley that gave Brighton the lead at Anfield. However, as they have done in previous games this season, the 2024 Carabao Cup champions came from behind to defeat the Seagulls. Luis Diaz equalized in the first half, while Liverpool's top scorer, Mo Salah, netted his 22nd goal of the season in all competitions. The win puts Liverpool on top of the Premier League table with 67 points ahead of Arsenal and Manchester City.
Fashion and arts enthusiasts in Nigeria have called on the government to invest in the fashion and arts subsector, saying it can help solve Nigeria's unemployment challenges. They say the sector has the potential to help Nigeria and the much-needed foreign exchange generate revenue for the country and make the youth more productive. Here's Amadinu with more.
In attendance were fashion and arts enthusiasts, entrepreneurs, designers, and makers of African crafts.
We are the creative industry. We believe that over 70% in the continent and even the country is of youth within the ages of 12 to 35 years. So this is the age bracket for creativity. So this summit is for us to converge in one space, both the creatives, the emerging fashion and arts entrepreneurs, successful business owners in the private sector, the public sector leaders. We need to hear from the mouth of authority. We need to hear from the mouth of people who lead the creative industry.
Participants at the summit say the African fashion and arts subsector remains untapped, and through investment from government can live up to its potentials. They say through collaboration, creatives, including fashion and arts lovers, can become a force for good in the country.
Together we can create a vibrant ecosystem that fosters creativity, promotes sustainability, and drives economic growth across the continent. Today we invite you to join us in this remarkable journey. Together let us celebrate the richness and diversity of African fashion and art.
The movie industry is generating over $600 million. You know, not talk about the comedy, not talk about the music. Afrobeat is getting popularity across the continent. And I bet you this is one thing I always look at. The government should invest in things like this that not only promotes young people, but brings about productivity.
Experts here are saying that investment in the fashion and arts subsector can help Nigeria harness available potential and solve the nation's unemployment challenge. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
And that's all at this hour. Before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories tonight. Reporting news that Christians across the globe have celebrated Easter amid calls for hope and unity. Fire has left about 2 dead and 2,000 homeless in South Africa. Somalia's Puntland has shunned federal institutions in that country over a vote reform. We'd like to hear from you. Please send us your eyewitness reports. You can use the WhatsApp number and email address showing on your screen. Also, social media, we're at News Central Television. Give us a photo on the major platforms. And you can watch us live on any of these channels or platforms. Many thanks for your time tonight. My name is Kofi. Bartels. Have a lovely Easter.